It is episode number 4 of our podcast. Hey, they say time flies. And it's been an exciting journey so far, where Christine and I have been sharing information to the business world, to the financial institutions, and of course, business with my usual suspect. Sidi, how have you been?
I've been excellent. I've been excellent, man. How have you been? How have you been?
I've been well. Great feedback from our followers out there, urging us to move on. I know you did touch a bit about the feedback that gives us the energy to drive this project on and to continue to share wisdom. And we want to encourage our followers on podcast and whatever the podcast he shares to give us feedback, possibly suggest points of discussion, because we want to really share what they want to see in our next podcast. So this is an open check, and the business community is free to suggest what they want us to discuss. And I think so far so good. CD, what do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. No, we are super grateful for the feedback and that we are giving value. That's our intention. Our intention here is to really share how together we can all make sure that we can achieve. We can all benefit and grow. Yeah, we have a responsibility
Excellent.
to grow the economy.
Beautiful. So last podcast, you did share a lot of wisdom with respect to that the SI is in place, the government has done its part, and there are a lot of stakeholders that have to come to the party. And what you indicated, I vividly recall, was that the SI is in place. But at the end of the day, it's a business decision that will drive the success of this SI forward. So the SMEs must match up. The mines are ready. The government has done its part, like I said. There are a lot of stakeholders that have to play their part. Now, let's get into the meat of the cracks. Let's look at the process leading to the award of maybe a tender by the mining companies. Just what are some of the areas that we can discuss? I know that one of the first things that we look at is, for example, company registration status and all the issues that follow, the issues of ZRA, issues of supplier registration, and at the end of it all is the issues of local content compliance. Now, there are a lot of issues under this that I want us to focus on, CD, and share with the SMEs, the mining suppliers, the business community out there. What are some of the things that the SMEs must be looking at?
Sorry, excellent, my good man. Yeah, so and you're right on there, because we should not see this as a compliance issue. We should actually see it as in fact, it's a business opportunity for everybody in the ecosystem to actually benefit. I was reading the other day, actually, where the president even mentioned that a lot of countries out there are asking Zambia, how did you come up with the local content legislation? For me, that also shows just the kind of impact that everybody else is seeing on this. Maybe just so that we don't forget the before we go into the detail, but so that we just still remember, this legislation, what it has done is to create a captive market. Effectively, they've created effective demand, which is captive for local entities. So we'll get to what does it mean to be a local entity, and therefore, how can you make it easy to show that everything else is in place for you to participate in this? Because there should be no question. The way the tender process goes is that they have no time to come and call you back and say, hey, Buana, the documentation you gave us, where can we find this? No, you need to make sure that you give them documentation which is so clear that the people evaluating your bids, when they see it, they even know, it's a tick box exercise. They just go and tick through. So before we get into that side of things, just to bring it back into context. So this law has created demand. And that's the biggest, for me, as a person, an entrepreneur who's been in the most difficult thing you can do. Yeah. So there are people like you, RK, who are so good at getting business. I'm telling you, you are a gem in this, in anywhere in the market, because you can tell me that getting a sale, making a sale is not easy. So the government has done the heavy lifting. You don't need to go and do some detailed marketing to the mines, creating networks, relationships with the mines for you to participate. You effectively have the market captured. Now, what is so the government has done its part. You're right. So we now have the demand, but in the end, it's actually a business decision. So the mine is not just, even in its tender approval process, they are not just going to say, oh, this is a local, therefore we give. No, you need to meet their bidding standards. So they've already said you need to demonstrate quality, technical capability, financial capacity. You need to demonstrate that you are able to deliver timely. So all these are the qualifying supplier requirements. That's what a qualifying supplier profile is. You have. So how do you demonstrate this as a business? So this is which now leads into how are you able to participate. First issue, RK, and probably I'll come back into some other detail for you to pick it. But for me, first issue is make sure that it's very clear you are a local content qualifying participant. How does that look like? Is everything is predicated on the Citizen Empowerment Act. So from the Citizen Empowerment Act, that's where the SI is drawing the definition. There are there are so many categories in there, the citizen influenced and so forth and so on. But the ones that are critical for the local content is citizen empowered and citizen owned. These are the two that you need to demonstrate that you are citizen empowered or you are citizen controlled. Citizen influenced, which is I think at around by something like 5% or something like that, that does not qualify. So if you are at anything which is, so the simple story is, for you to participate in local content, you must have 25% or more by locals, okay, ownership, or 50%, 50 plus is then a citizen owned. So these two categories are the ones that qualify for the local content as a qualifying local content participant. So, but how do you demonstrate this? Then, of course, you see, the issue is in a bidding process, you can't, first of all, you need to probably in the documentation, they will have, in the documentation, they're going to put in the bidding process. I haven't seen so far, but I want to think that the mines in the bidding bid documents, they will have that component there. But you also now just need to make sure that it's very clear there is no discussion. And this is where now the issue of getting your citizen empowerment certificate is very important. So you need to make sure that as a local, you have that certificate with from the Citizen Empowerment Commission, and I'm sure you can add on a few things from there. So I want to just, first of all, I wanted to just bring that up. So before we go into even the more detail, can you please, let's work on making sure this is sorted. You have that certificate so that whenever you're putting a bid, it's very easy. Yeah, you're putting in a tender, even the certificate actually is part of that documentation. You are muted.
Just showing on your PACRA registration that you've got this level of shareholding is not sufficient. What qualifies you to be citizen-owned, citizen empowerment is that additional certification from PACRA. Is that what you are confirming here?
No, not really. But what I'm just saying is, can we make it very easy
Correct.
for the bidding process? Yeah,
Correct.
Can we make it? Because I've been involved in a lot of bid evaluations, and people will tell you there are so many bids to go through.
Excellent.
So you just go, it's a ticking box. So if I can't see something, I'm just gonna fail it as non-responsive. Yeah. So
Excellent.
that's the one I was saying, to make sure that it's never in doubt. Please go and get that certificate. Yeah.
Excellent. So here's the first, the starting point. You are a registered company. Most of the tenders will require you to also show that you've got a TPIN. You have your TPIN at the registration of your organization. Most of the tenders, it's a requirement. What is your TPIN number? They will require your company profile. They will require your shareholding. Just explain the importance of some of these documents that will be required in a tender, because I think it's almost generic that every single tender we get from the mining companies will require this information. And so the people bidding or the organizations bidding for these jobs must conform to the requirements. Like you rightly said, it's a tick in the box. Do you have your company profile inserted or not? If you don't have it, then you're not qualified to the next step. Just shed a bit more light about that.
Oh yes. Indeed. And that's where, because this is where the bread is coming from, we really need to make sure that we are ready and we make it easy for, we have a very good chance of winning the bid, of winning the work, so that we are not excluded purely on a technicality. So what are the typical things that they're going to ask for? Of course, like you said, the registration, your PACRA registration, so that you can, and including showing everything else, including the beneficial ownership. You've talked about the ZRA registration, and now that even goes with the issue of the tax clearance certificate. Now, how can tax clearance come through? it can only be if you have all your tax accounts cleaned up. It doesn't mean you don't owe the ZRA. You could actually owe the ZRA, but you are on a payment plan, which you are honoring. So in that case, that um, so, sorry, okay, maybe you can just mute your mic. Yeah, so that in that case we have an issue of your tax affairs are in place, which is where you talked of the issue of the tipping and the tax clearance certificate. So you have all your affairs in order, and make sure that that relationship, because it's really a very key document now, which goes into other things. They want you to have financial statements. You need to have history. And from what we have seen, they'll ask for audited financial statements at least for the last 3 years. So you need to demonstrate that you have the history goes with that. We are talking about the issue of the NAPSA certificate. For me, is a key in some of these bids. Just have it ready, have it in place. Any certifications or registrations that are related to what you are supplying, all that has to be part of the documentation, and of course including the now to make sure that it's never in question on the local content, to have the citizen empowerment citizen, I mean, a certificate which confirms you are a citizen empowered or citizen owned business or supply to the mines.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Obviously, there is a mistaken belief that you can just wake up one day and respond to the tender and be a supplier to the mines. There's a requirement by the mines, if not all of them, that a company must be registered in their database. A little bit of about what supplier registration is important and the avenues people can use to register suppliers to the mine.
So you will not even be in the loop in terms of these bids if you have not registered. So you need to register with the mines for them to actually send you the bid documentation. So if you are not registered, then you can't just go and rock up and say, "Oh, can I please have a tender?" No, you are not going to. You are not. That is not going to happen. You need to be part of their procurement, onboarding, supplier procurement process, and most of them, at least I can speak for the ones where the portal is there. It's really FQM. So for FQM, if you just search for FY 2026 procurement plan for Kansanshi and the Trident, the one in Kalumbila, you actually see that they have, on the procurement plan itself, there is a link at the top. Okay, let me just see. I might just have that. Okay, let me just see if I can actually show. Just a moment, okay, let me just
Sure, CD.
find it. Yeah, so really the issue is you need to make sure that you are registered. If you are not registered, then there is no way you are going to get any invitations for you to bid, and therefore whatever we'll be talking about here will be purely academic, right?
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, okay, I
Yeah,
can't seem
we
to
can
find
come back to that.
that thing.
Yeah, we can come back to
We
it
can
at some
come back to
point.
it later. Yes. So right at the top, where they have just listed, right at the top, they have put a website where you need to go and click on, and it will take you through the registration process. So in that registration process, it even gives you option. These are the areas of interest we are making procurements for. Which ones do you want? And most of these standard documentation, you then just need to upload it as part of that registration process. Yeah, no, very, very important aspect. You need to make sure you are registered. Otherwise, you won't get the bids. Most of these bids actually come by email to your mailbox. The registered email that you will have there is where you have these bids come and say, because you shown interest in a particular area to be a supplier, then they will send you the bid so that then you can go and bid your friend right now who's to go and do a site visit before they can actually go back and do a bid.
Excellent, CD. Sounds really good. Developments. With the coming of SI 68, there are some services already allocated. These ones are reserved. Even before we talk about 20% of what's not going to be stated here, these ones are reserved specifically for Zambian companies. Catering, supply of food, canteens, and all the foodstuffs to the mines and the miners. That's 100% reserved for Zambians. Security, the guarding of the infrastructure in and around the mines, that's 100% Zambian. Transportation and haulage, that again has been reserved for Zambians, and other support services. Your thoughts about this? Should Zambians now be thinking about investing in, truck, trucks and other businesses? What's your take about this, development? These ones you can't touch. These ones are for Zambians. You can touch other areas, but not this. Your thoughts are CD about the.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and that's the beauty. So we'll be talking about 20% going up to 40%, but already in this act, they've already said there are certain areas, and they're actually calling them non non-core mining costs. Okay, procurement. In fact, cost is a procurement, non-core mining procurement. So it means it's not really the ones that are related to the directly related to the mining activity. So that's understood because most of this is actually very, very technical. And we probably don't, for a fact, we don't have the expertise. But you then we need that. But even then, even in the given out, and just on that 20% component, before I come back to the ones which are like the 100% for Zambia, there is a difference between this one and the one which was in the construction sector, which had a subcontractor requirement. So the way that one was is they will award the foreign, but the foreign person is the one to give the 25%. Okay, which meant that now our subcontractors were at the mercy of the principal contractor, because they awarded the whole contract to that one. Then that person was the one to, but this act is not sharing in the participation. Okay, so 20% of every contract is reserved for local content, meaning the Zambians will be given that piece of the mine will contract directly with the Zambian, and that component of the contract will be at the same level as even the foreign guys. The other one was a subcontractor, meaning they just give you and then they decide the terms that they can give you at. This time is you are given at the same terms, except you have a 20% component which goes to Zambians. So it opens up big opportunities. And then we've got the 100%. So for me, yes, this is now the time to invest, because usually you want to invest because you anticipate demand. Now here, the demand has already been created. So you have to invest, like you're saying. So in the local ones, invest. Now, investing on our own as Zambians, for me, it's going to be very, very difficult. This is where we need now to look for international technical partners who should come on board to come and help us expand our capacity, which should be done here locally. So as a local content player, reach out to partners out there who have the capital and the technical expertise to come and join us. And of course, as long as we and it's a big range, because you're talking of 25 to 25 to like 50% is where they can come and play. So you don't need to sell your whole company. But when now we have a very big value proposition to domesticate a lot of this production capacity in-house. I'm calling it import substitution. This has never been the best time to now bring all the capacity which is out there, which is done out there, to now be, yes, for those non-core where you don't even need. This is the best time to get ready to prepare yourself to be bankable. So because you need to invest, you need a financial institution to leverage on. Yeah, so already there are so many players out there who can help with this, and even any financing player that's out there. All they want is, do you have solid fundamentals? What are solid fundamentals? Do you have a business? Can you show us contracts? So if you have contracts, yeah, there is no better time for, and this is only gonna grow. So it's from 20%, even in the technical areas, the real McCoy areas, from 20%, it's going to grow in 5 years to get to 40% thereabout. So if it's gonna get to 40%, this, which means this, the government has really done this was very, very thoughtful, because for me, this is how we now bring, foreign capacity, we bring it locally. Because what does any business want? They want a guaranteed market, more or less. So if they can come here and start producing here, the impact is the mine is happy because the production is just in-house. So it really, their supply chain is improved. The local players, as local players, we now have production. We reduce import dependence. We start now producing here, even if it's just semi. For me, that's a great step to go, so that we are not just doing it for ourselves. Now we can even start supplying. If a mine in Zimbabwe or DRC especially, where are they going to go if whatever they are consuming, they are importing from China, they are importing from Turkey, they are importing from France, is now being produced in Zambia? That market becomes, so it's not just the Zambian market, but the DRC market becomes our market. So for me, this is where we really need to make sure that we realize this. And okay, it's one thing to say we can attract all of this, but we need to put our house in order. What does that mean? Our books, our governance. We need to be very, transparent and bankable. For me, that's the only word I can use now, so that then we can have all this capital coming, all these, because to execute on this, we'll need quite a lot of capital. Yeah. So, and we've always been talking about the issue of two kinds of capital. In the short term, we're talking about resolving the working capital trap. In the medium to long term, deal with the import substitution capacity. We want to attract that capital, which is the 3 to 7 years kind of capital that comes in, so that we can unlock our potential, and then we can go. I'm sure we'll discuss more in terms of how all this can really be. It's really exciting times. But we need to make sure the time is now. We need to make sure that we are ready from the governance side, the documentation side. We are ready as the local content participants, so that then as the opportunity comes, we can attract all this capital. I can only see a very heavy lifting is to create the demand, which should then attract the capital to come. We're already, like foreign players are already reaching out, asking us, how can we do this? They are setting up vehicles in which can go into meet the SI 68 component. So we just need to be careful. We make sure that there is no legislation washing, what they call legislation washing, where they just come and create some vehicle, but with no proper beneficial ownership trickling down into the local economy. So if we don't do it, then the foreign guys, they're very sharp. They're very sharp. They're gonna come. They're gonna, they sense an opportunity. They don't waste time. Then they just come and execute. They'll come and execute. They'll create SPVs, and then we'll just be wondering, why the wealth is just in the hands of a few people and not really everyone. So that's why I'm really very passionate about this and trying to make sure that we can bring this to fruition, because and take mother Zambia to where it's supposed to be. For me, even the 2030 vision for our production target, yeah, sort of now starts for me. I'm beginning to see that yes, this is because it unlocks immediately the input side is unlocked, where we have a lot of these things produced here in Zambia, even just on a semi-process. It will really unlock the speed at their capacity to meet our production target.
Excellent, CD, and a lot to talk about. Quickly, let's touch a little bit. You talked about the financial statements. The in some cases, management, accounts as required by the bank. Some other bank documents like bank statements and so on. There's an element that usually comes through in tenders, and that's a issue of bid security. Why bid security? Why is it important? Where can SMEs and other bidders for mine business obtain such instruments?
Very well observed, my man. Yeah. So bid security is very critical because it protects. First of all, it gives confidence to the mine in this case, that you are capable and you can protect them in terms of if you are not able to deliver, then they are able to protect. And usually, most of these, like where I've seen it, is where maybe they've even made some advance payments, or even when they haven't, some of it could be related to performance. If you can't perform to the right quality, they want to have a fallback on where they can now call on to this. So you find that most of the big bids, actually, they do require bid security. But for you to get bid security, remember okay, first of all, what does bid security mean? Effectively, somebody is guaranteeing on your behalf that you will deliver. Okay? So somebody is guaranteeing on your behalf that you will deliver. So that person to guarantee, which usually would be, even banks can do that, insurance companies now offer that. For them to guarantee, they need to know that you are a safe bet. How can you demonstrate a safe bet? You need financial statements. Yeah. So this is where the issue of financial statements and audited is even, gives a lot more. There is no choice. We just need to have these financial statements audited, because once you have audited financial statements that you can give, that usually becomes the backbone on which they can even do the pricing nicely for you, and for them to take a bet on you. Effectively, they are taking a bet on us who are getting the bid security. So yeah, of course we pay them a fee, but at the main issue there is, if we mess up, if we fail to deliver or non-performance, they are the ones who pay. Yeah, it's more or less like an insurance company. So that's where having your house in order, management accounts, your financials are in place, and everything else, it's very transparent. Your governance is very safe. It gives a lot of comfort. All that is what contributes, is what they look out for from the bid in terms of bid security. Very similar to when you are getting any other facility.
Excellent. CD, we go back a bit to one very interesting area that you touched on. You spoke about import substitution and versus there in the short to medium term, there will still be a number of people that will still want to bring, you know, products for the mines. But you touched on the element of import substitution, meaning you set base here and start producing for supply to the mines. I think that was an interesting aspect. You talked about the partnership. Are there financing options available for such projects? Are there also financing options available for people that want working capital support and not necessarily a project? Could be for a startup business, could be for an existing business. So would you shed more light about the two things that you said? Because you talked about import substitutions. If I'm an SME, I'll be thinking that's what the legislation say, but doesn't say that. But it's a good opportunity. Just get a little bit into the detail and give us some contrast and maybe the bit of detail about the two points: import substitution versus someone who wants to get goods already made from outside to supply the mines.
Oh yes, oh yes. No, for me, that's where it's very exciting for me. Yeah. So let's separate these two. First thing, we have the working capital trap, and we've discussed this before. What is the working capital trap? The working capital trap is you need to deliver on any of the contracts. You need investment in inventory. You need investment in debtors because mines never pay COD. Okay? So these are the two sides of your working capital where you need to do something. Usually what reduces that is the supplier. If you have supplier terms, then it reduces it because then you need a supplier that can help you manage that. Okay? Otherwise, then there's an issue. So for me, that's what I'm calling the working capital trap, because most of the local mine suppliers who qualify for the local content, they actually don't have supplier financing that would reduce that. So that's why I'm calling it a trap, because then you have to make that. So who can help? Who can unlock? And I'm calling that as a short-term issue problem because we need to resolve it now. Yeah. So that is the side of thing. Who can help? It's the financial institutions. They are already doing this, but it shouldn't be. We should be very careful the kind of product they bring about here. It should really be supplier finance because we are trying to deal with the lack of supplier involvement in the working capital formula, right? So they come in to solve the supplier side of things, which I want to believe over time is going to get better, because if you are paying well to a supplier and you're giving them more business, then you can negotiate and then you can start getting terms. Then over time, so in the long term, this might become, for these entities who start now, it means in the long term, they might reduce more and more depending on financial institution and actually develop the capacity on the supplier side by having supplier credit coming. Okay? But they need to start now and then over time. And it's only the bank that can unlock that. So that's the first one. And then for the bank to do that, this is where now we, like you rightly put, you need to have your house in order. Your sales side of things, it needs to be very transparent. Are your fundamentals right? What margins are you making? And you can only see this in management accounts. And producing all those things that we've talked about. Do you have a budget? And all the things we've talked about that we are helping a lot of our clients with. So that's one side. Then the one which even has bigger unlock is you are a supplier to the mine. and what you are supplying is actually imported into Zambia, then you have this, you are a very good candidate for import substitution. Okay, very good candidate for import substitution. And how does that work? How that works for me is package yourself nicely. You already have in your hand a captive market demand, and not just for Zambia, but for Congo because of the proximity. So you will now have captive demand. Use that captive demand to negotiate and bring your supplier who you are importing from to come and join you and start producing here in Zambia together with you. Yeah. Now, is there money? Absolutely. Yeah. And we are working with a number of our partners in this space who are really very eager to support this aspect. So they've got very, very flexible financing, which is not a typical bank. In fact, for me, it's looking much more like venture capital kind of financing. And it's not short-term money. We're talking about minimum 10 years or 3. They even go up to 7 years. Yeah. Because this is project finance now. Yeah. So you can tell your technical partner, you bring your technical expertise here. You know, we structure a business here. Obviously, you have to use your existing business. You bring them in, still remain a citizen empowered entity to participate. Bring your technical expertise. I'm bringing the demand. I'm bringing the financing. You bring. And then we have a bigger cake for all of us to chow from. Yeah. And to remain, you know, all you need to give up is 40 point, if it can even be 40 point, 49.000999. You are still citizen empowered, citizen owned, which means you have that, you still remain into the thing. So we can help you structure all of that and attract this money. This money comes in very flexible. So one of them is offering what is called royalty, very similar to the Sharia thing, Sharia lending, royalty, where they participate in the risk with you. So they give you a short, they give you a low fixed component, and the rest is a percentage of revenue. Yeah. So you win, you grow, they grow. You shrink, they also, you know, you go through bad times, so they're participating in the risk with you. So that's the thing. And then, you know, they even offer mezzanine financing, where they can come in and bring in some issue of equity and debt component, or convertible kind of instruments. So yeah, so the short and long of it is, one, on the bank side, the appetite is great. The only thing the banks have always not been happy with is how do they manage the risk, especially on the proceeds control. Yeah. So if that is resolved with the mine coming to the party, then for me, that is the very short term. So that short-term problem, the working capital trap, resolved. We move on. We can now start talking about, are you importing what you're supplying to the mines? You have big potential to become a local producer, production from here. And the proposition is, yeah, and we can help you package and engage and all these. We are facilitators. That's what we do.
Excellent. Excellent. Time flies, CD. And I know we can go on and on, but We obviously have to come back next time with another segment, but briefly, your concluding remarks. We not just any other player, but playing an important role in disseminating information. But some of the things that you can do for those people that may need our type of service as a CFS.
Oh yes, indeed. Yeah. So we want to play our part in this and leverage on our expertise and what we do so that we can, support this growth and make sure this moves from being a pipe dream to reality. We can get and it will benefit all of us. Because I love entrepreneurs because they put everything on the line. They've put their families, their assets, their families, and the relationships, everything on the line because of the dream, because they want to develop something. So I love them. And that's why we are there to give them all the support and protect them, to make sure that whatever value they are creating is something, and let them, because for me now, it's never been easier. It's never going to be like easy. It's always business is business. It's going to be difficult, but it's now never been easier because the demand is there. So it's just us getting ready and being able to execute on that demand. So what we do on the working capital trap, we have a program system where we have three parties. We have the mine on one side, we have the financial institution, we have the SME, or the mine supplier, sorry, let me not call them SMEs, the mine supplier. We bring them up. So together now, we are the player that brings all these people together. What do we do? With the mine supplier, we work with them to make sure that we install what we are calling the bankability accelerator program. How we make sure that there we have the deliverables are they've got a budget, we've got visibility, they've got a strategy, effectively a documented strategy of how they are going to grow the sales, okay, and what it means, where they're making money, where they're losing money, what they need to stop, and all that stuff, what they can do. So we have that very clear, very important, because the bank needs to know that they are a safe bet. Then we have the CFO pack. I think we've discussed this before, where we've partnered with Probes. We've got a world-class web-based, anywhere, anytime. As the owner of the business, you have full visibility of your information, and it's available at a click of a button. Okay, you can see what's happening, what's happening everywhere in your business. So with that, we do help you do a budget, we help you do management accounts, we help you create a 13-week rolling cash flow, we help you create an emergency fund reserve culture where we want you to build up to resilience. If there's something that COVID taught us, is that having a cash somewhere to lean on is actually something that saved us to go through a lot of these issues. Yeah, so we encourage that. We have the compliance side so that your ZRA, your NAPSA, whatever, are all all sorted. So we have all that sorted as part of the pack. So we install that on the SME. So that is our relationship with the SME. And then, of course, if the bank needs anything, they actually deal with us. So they don't need to worry about anything. The bank needs something, whatever. We'll even be more proactive in probing for some of the things that are needed to make sure that all the decisions are quickly turned around. Okay. On the mine side, we bring them to where they sign a proceeds control mandate. They are not committing they're not grams. They are going to pay into an account where the SME and the bank have agreed it should go, so that the bank can get their bit, and then as part of the facility, and then the mine supplier remains with their money. Okay, remember here we are just bringing it in. They are coming in as credit supply. I mean, they're giving us credit. The bank is just giving us credit. So we don't want to get the money and then use it for something else. That's what the banks are fearing. So let's help them. Let them get their money. Let them leave us with what is ours. Okay, but the beauty is that it's a rolling arrangement. They get their money back. It's available for you to get again and finance your next order, and maybe even more, and things like that. As you create more credit history with them, the more they give you in terms of what those limits are. Then obviously from the bank, they provide the credit. They back the mine supplier with the credit. Then they can go for every order. They are, they immediately they get it, the bank is ready to pull the trigger, and the whole process goes. So for us, that's what we're doing under the bankability accelerator program. Okay, so it's a 1-year agreement that we have. That is now the import substitution side. So here the candidates are: you are supplying the mine, you are importing, you are a very good candidate for this. How do we work with you? We work with you, prepare you, help you structure how you can structure so that you still remain citizen empowered, right? And then then attract. So we build your investor pack, your everything else. We help you build all that up, and then even yeah, and then look for these even facilitate where transaction in that space we are more of transaction we'd give transaction advisory, so that we package everything else. You can now get your technical partner in, and then we can introduce you to the man, to the project money that would be very appropriate to now unlock that. So those are the two areas, and it's exciting, and we're very grateful to all the people in this ecosystem. The financiers, they all want to help, but we just need to make sure that each one of us helps the other to execute, so that the opportunity is very big, but unless we can all work together, we won't be able to realize the full potential for Mother Zambia, the country I love so much.
Excellent. It's been awesome, CD. As usual, a lot of wisdom given out there. This time through this podcast, and a lot of people can utilize that, digest it, utilize it for the benefit of their businesses. So thanks, CD, for making usual appearance and for sharing so much detail in today's number 6. For now, it's bye and have a good weekend, CD.
Same to you, man. Over and out. Thank you so much. I'm forever so grateful for this. Over and out.
Thank you. Thank you.